Okay. Hi everyone, this is Nathan, and today's interesting find star is Laurie. He's one of the awesome guys in the hobby. In fact, Hornby has asked him or something to make steampunk locomotives, which are awesome. I would highly recommend check them out because they're that awesome, and I want one too. It's because they're so awesome and they're interesting.
Hi, Nathan.
Hi.
Okay, well, the Hornby Steampunk range is something that hasn't been done before by any train manufacturer as far as I'm aware. And it certainly hasn't been done before by Hornby. They've done science fiction before in the 1960s, but nothing like this for a very long while. And they wanted to get other people interested in the hobby, perhaps other people other than your regular railway modelers. And this is one of the ideas they've had. And they came to me to ask them to design their steampunk range. The reason being that I'd already approached them and said a long while ago, way back in 2013, that I thought this would be a good thing for them to do, to get young kids and younger families and other people interested in the hobby. So finally in 2018, I think it was, there was a massive model show in this country called Worley. And at the same time, Comic Con was on, which was a science fiction show, and it was 5 times bigger. And some of the guys from Hornby went to Comic Con, went back to Hornby afterwards and said, you know what, we should really do something science fiction because this is a huge area. I think we need to get into it. That's when someone else at Hornby, Simon Kohler, said, I think you want to talk to Laurie Calvert, because he's talking to me about this. And so I then got an email in March 2019 inviting me to go along to Hornby and show them what I'm up to. And so I took along some locomotives and it went on from there.
How did you decide to do steampunk?
Well, the reason that steampunk was chosen at this point in time was because it's the natural blend between science fiction and railways, because steampunk involves steam and locomotives involve steam, so there's a natural blend. The most obvious joining of the two, I think. Although the locomotives I've designed for Hornby do have a little bit of crossover. There's a bit of science fiction in there, so it's a blending really. There could be used purely for steampunk models, steampunk layouts, and they would fit, or they could be used or adapted for science fiction use. And this is really so people can use their imaginations and make them how they want. So they're not pure steampunk as such, and they're not meant to be, but they are steampunk because of all the pipes and tubes and things that are on them. They do kind of have a steampunk element. So that was why steampunk was specifically chosen, because it's the most natural fit. And also it attracts a new breed of modeler, hopefully, into the hobby.
My next question is, how did you get interested in trains?
So I didn't get interested in trains till very late on. I never had a train set as a kid. I had everything else but not a train set. And then I was actually quite old. I'm not going to say how old, but I was a lot older. And I thought one day I was in a model shop that we had over in the UK called Model Zone. It's closed now, unfortunately. And I saw the Mallard, and I love the Mallard. It's the fastest steam train. It's a lovely colour, a great shape. And I thought I've got to get one of those. So I bought that, and then I bought a track. And of course it goes on from there. You know, probably like yourself, you buy one thing and then you need to buy another loco and then a bit more track. And then before you know it, you've built a layout. And so that was how it started. I saw a Mallard, I wanted to buy a Mallard, and that was 8 years ago.
My next question is, what inspires you to make a scene or something on your layout?
That's interesting. What inspires me can be many things, really. I've made 27 layouts in 8 years. They're normally small layouts, so usually 6 foot by 2 foot or smaller. And I've found that what links them all is their layouts with atmosphere. In the UK setting, I've made a horror layout, made several science fiction layouts. I'm doing a layout at the moment, and I'll show you shortly. That's something very different. So as long as it's got atmosphere, something exciting about it, then I'll model it.
Well, let's see. My next question is, do you want to scratch build locomotives or buildings?
Well, I have to scratch build locomotives and buildings for the science fiction layouts that I do. I've got no choice. Although, having said that, they're not all scratch built really. They are existing locomotives and then I add to them, so they're more kit bash than scratch build. So I don't actually scratch build, not like you. I haven't done anything quite that extreme. So I like adding to things more.
Let's see, what is your next project going to be?
Well, my next project is actually a commission. Someone has asked me to build something for them, and he's already owning 4 of my layouts. So this one will be a 5th, and I can show you it. It's right behind me. It is 90% complete, and it is actually based on a British TV show.
Very interesting.
Thunderbirds. So there is Thunderbird 1 and Thunderbird 2 on my layout, and of course there is a train track involved. There has to be a train, and this is actually a pod vehicle that's come out of Thunderbird 2, and it is a modified 040 shunter. So it's very heavily modified because it's got a huge crane on it, and this lifting crane goes up to a grab, and that's going to try and grab a monorail train.
Let's see, my 2 questions are, do you have any mentors?
I don't have any mentors as such, but I do have a lot of people who inspire me, and one of them is Brian Bassington. He's a Chelmsford Model Railway Club, and some of his models have actually inspired me to make some of my models. So Piddlewick Yard I made because I really like Columbia Wharf, which was a model that he made. And I think he kind of has a mutual respect for my modelling now as well, because he's grown up with me growing up in this hobby too, although he's a lot more experienced than me, but he's seen me develop, and so that's pretty good. There's other people online as well who I admire. So Chris Navard, he's a fantastic photographer and modeller we have over in the UK, does lots of stuff for Model Rail. And then there's other YouTubers as well. I think we all inspire each other, from Callum Wilcox, SDJR78FF, or whatever his channel's called, I can never remember. And of course Jenny Kirk, she's constantly giving me ideas. She did only today. So there's a lot of YouTubers actually as well. That I wouldn't say are mentors, but we all inspire each other. What I would like people to know about what I do is 2 things really. One is the Calvert Film YouTube channel. So I've got quite a big YouTube channel with 11 million views at the moment in 2020. And that's Calvert Film, CALVERTFILM. So you can go on there and see lots of videos. So that's quite a thing that I'd like people to know about, but also to know that really I'm known for my science fiction steampunk locomotives. That's science fiction stroke steampunk, so science fiction as well, because for me, my model railroading has really gone into the imaginative area rather than trying to model something realistically. And there's plenty of people out there that do the realistic modelling, so I'm doing something a bit different, the imaginative modelling that other people do as well, but that's my forte, that's where I'm concentrating.
I guess I'll add this question because I'm curious to know, what made you start YouTube?
What made me start YouTube was in 2007 I finished a 2nd feature film that I just made, which was computer generated, and it's called Monsters of the Id. Id is spelled ID. And so the first thing I put up on YouTube were trailers for my movie. The movie isn't on YouTube, just trailers for it and scenes from Monsters of the Id. So they're very poor quality now because they're 13 years old. But that was why I joined YouTube. And then I started putting up all of my hobbies. So they're now 1,300 movies later or something. There's all sorts on there, from cars to jet aircraft, taxi runs to, of course, railways, real and model. The Hornby model railway stuff is the steampunk range, and of course they came to me, didn't really know what they wanted. So they asked for 2 locomotives and maybe a couple of wagons, and we'd take it from there. I designed 3 so they could pick 2, but they liked all 3. So all 3 are going into production, currently being made in Hong Kong and China. There'll be a slight delay because of the virus that's going around at the minute worldwide. So they're looking at maybe an August, September release now for the range. So I designed the 3 locos. It then went up to, I think it was 4 wagons, 2 coaches, to use existing Hornby stuff. So I was limited to an 040 shunter, although I don't think that limited me too much because I really like the designs. But I could have done something bigger around that Hornby Tornado. The wagons and coaches, they were restricted to particular types. I couldn't just pick anything. Things that they could produce relatively cheaply, this was the thing, because they're testing the water here, so they couldn't go in with a massive range right at the beginning. And then the buildings, they gave me certain buildings to choose from, and they're very hard to modify because of production constraints, which means you can't have lots of sticky out bits. There are also copyright issues. If I wanted to use something from, say, another model manufacturer, I couldn't. So I would have to use Airfix kits and things that Hornby own. Hornby own other brands like Airfix, Humboldt, Corgi. So it's made the range a very particular style. The buildings, I think, could have been different and a bit more if we could have done them bespoke and maybe designed them from scratch, but we couldn't. So it is what it is, and I think that's a really nice first attempt as well. I'm very pleased with the range, and it's a true collaboration because Hornby have worked with me on this and said what they can and can't do, and they've designed the packaging and promoting it and given it its name, of course, which they're re-releasing the Bassett Loke name, which is a famous name from 1899. So it is a true collaboration between myself and Hornby, and we'll see where it goes. Hopefully they'll sell enough to make a little bit of profit, and then if that does sell, there'll be other things coming along. Can't really tell you what. Not necessarily steampunk, because we're thinking other people can make steampunk locomotives now they've got the seed planted. This might be the range as it is, how it needs to be. Then again, we may do more steampunk, or we may do something completely different. So stay tuned. And again, if they don't sell, this will be it. And it's great just as it is. I'm so pleased Hornby asked me. It's just magic. On your channel, Interesting Finds.
What I do on Interesting Finds is I try to find any information I can find on like builds and stuff, and then I put it all together, me explain about it. And so I try to find builds that people make, and like sometimes scratch build or maybe kit bash or something. Sometimes I go into like people actually building cars and stuff, and then I put that. The reason why it's called Interesting Finds is because it's interesting and I found it on the internet, so I thought I'd put it together.
So I have seen you comment occasionally on my YouTube videos. I've noticed your name before, because Nathan is actually a name of my lead character in my movie that I made. My computer-generated movie, so that's how I remember.
What got you the idea of Cato Pass?
All right, so Cato Pass is my most successful model railway layout that I've ever made. I take it to shows. The reason I made Cato was because I wanted to do something science fiction. The first ever science fiction locomotive I made in 2012, December 2012, and I'd only been in the hobby a few months. I took it to my model railway club, and they said, "What's this?" And I explained it to them, and they didn't really understand it, and they said no one's ever done this before. And I said, why? Because science fiction is huge, model railways are huge, why haven't they really met much? So I then built a little demonstrator layout. We built a layout at the club and then did a show with that. So this must be now 2013, 2014, something like that, and it got a really good reaction. Straight away, before the show even started, that layout had a show invite. So I knew it was on something here. And then in 2015, I decided to build Cato Pass because this had to be the definitive science fiction steampunk model railway. I wanted it a blend of science fiction and steampunk. So there's science fiction on top and steampunk in the cavern that's in the main part of the layout. And it was to be the science fiction demonstrator, the one I was going to take out to show. So it's big enough. It was 6 foot by 2 foot. And thankfully it's done its job really well. It's done everything I wanted it to do. It's now done 58 shows. It's only just over 4 years old, so it's about one a month. I've been lucky. It's won 10 awards, which is really cool. And it's been in all 4 magazines, big magazines in the UK. So that was why I built it, was because I wanted a science fiction demonstrator and to show off the idea I was doing. Also, bear in mind that I first went to Hornby with the idea in 2013, and I wanted to see if the idea was as good as I thought it was. So I wanted to gauge audience reaction, and then I could go back to Hornby and say, look, I think there's something here. And that was what I was doing in the years between 2013 and now 2020 when the product's coming out.
I guess I could add one more question. Do you plan on anything big, or like for an example, there's a place called Northlands, and it takes 2 hours to tour the whole place, and it's 2 stories high, so it's like bigger than the houses we live in.
Wow. Do you want to know if I'm planning anything like that?
Yeah.
Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But I'm not a multi-millionaire. But having said that, there's a place in Norfolk in England called Roxham Miniature Worlds, and they've asked me to be involved with a model railway project they've got going on there. In the meantime, I've built them a science fiction steampunk display model that I'm going to deliver to them soon. So that's actually sitting upstairs in my house at the minute. As soon as this virus thing is finished, I will deliver that to them, and then they can run the steampunk Hornby range on that. And then there's also in Kent a company that's setting up now called AIMREC, and that plans to be a couple of stories high. It's a museum that teaches railways through model railways. So they're going to have lots of model railways there, past, present and future. And they've asked me if I would be involved in the future section. So there are things that other people are doing, places that other people have, but they've asked me to be involved. So there are things for the future, yeah. So what are you building at the minute?
Let's see. I got to build a I built a double-decker locomotive. Like you know how in England they have like double-decker buses. So my idea was if I can combine a train and a bus, and but have like a steam engine, it could be a double-decker bus train. And that's what I built. I built 2 of them. One of them I gave away. And then I thought, oh, that works well. And so I'm deciding to build a passenger car, another one connected to it with a mall.
Right,
So like the train has a mall inside.
Oh, excellent. What, like, when you say mall, what do you mean? Like a mouth or a shopping mall?
Shopping mall.
All right, okay. All right. Okay, cool. So you do quite different sort of scratch build modelling, don't you?
Yeah, it's all made out of soda cans.
Yeah, I saw your first picture. That was quite unusual. That would lend itself to a war zone and all sort of being smashed up and hit and a bit sort of Mad Max.
Yeah, the front of it I used candy wrappers to do the front. I wasn't too sure. Yeah, my very first model, it was just mainly what I wanted because I always wanted Duchess of Hamilton.
Oh yeah, lovely loco. I've seen that in real life.
Really?
Yeah, it's at the NRM. Have you been over here?
I never been to the country, but I would definitely love to be there. It's one of my top lists of gotta go there. But yeah, it's a lovely loco, very streamlined. It's good. Do you want to see my cat? Sure. Maybe you've seen him on the videos. Yeah. He makes regular guest appearances on the videos. This is Nathan. Sorry, Neil. You're Nathan. He's black, so he doesn't photograph very well.
Yeah.
I could see his eyes.
Yeah, neon eyes. That's right. Isn't it? Yeah, he's cool. His brother's right there sleeping. Yeah. So I've just subscribed to your channel, Nathan. So hopefully I'll get to comment every now and again. I don't know how you find it. As a YouTube producer, you don't get to watch that much because you're busy producing. I'm editing tonight Thunderbirds Part 13 and Part 14. I'm doing the two at the same time. So, and I'm just waiting for some water effects to be delivered so I can finish off the water, because that's just sprayed it blue. It's not actually decorated. So that'll be the final step, and then that layout is finished. So Part 13 will be the water, and Part 14 will be sort of the story of it and what's happened. You know, the train has stopped, the plane's hit the bridge, and Thunderbirds are to the rescue. Yeah. So what are you planning? What are you planning next?
You mean for scratch when or layout plan?
Either.
I expanded my layout so it's like a track loop like this, and so I had extra tables I used for other layouts that I tore up many times, and I thought, hey, it would be good to connect together and make a bigger layout, because I always want to run like more than just 2 trains at the same time.
Right. Yeah. So you got to have room for that. That's the hardest thing I find, is room. So most of my layouts are small.
Yeah.
I've got quite a big room at the minute, but you can only fit so many layouts in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. But you've got plenty of room in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, I think it's plenty of room, but the basement isn't a lot of room. Like, it's not ginormous. It's pretty small, and I have to like be careful to not bump my head as much.
Oh, so it's a low ceiling.
Yeah.
What YouTubers do you watch?
How many? Let's see. There's Sparky, who is like a leader.
Oh yeah, I know Sparky. Yeah, he contacts me. He does a lot of live. And
let's see. There's Budget Mall Railways. They do everything on a budget.
Oh yeah. Are they still putting up videos? Because I haven't seen their videos for ages.
Yeah, they still do, but they kind of do more 3D printing stuff.
All right. Because I must have a look at his channel again, because it was years ago when I was talking to them. And you're right, they do everything for next to nothing.
Yeah.
Which is a good idea, because it's an expensive hobby.
So I guess you want to hear more of people who I watch?
Yeah, who else?
There's Ben, his YouTube channel's name is called Creative Rails. I met him at Steamtown too.
Alright, don't know him.
It's a YouTube meet and greet that we have done, and with a whole bunch of people, and the next one might be canceled. It's happening in what's known as Strasbourg because of this coronavirus.
Right, okay. So when is it happening?
May 16th and 17th.
Yeah, bit close, isn't it? I've just had a lot of shows cancelled because of the coronavirus, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, better to be safe. Yeah. So what's your favourite train now? Is it still Duchess of Hamilton or something else?
Well, I think the Duchess of Hamilton, just the word about it and everything about it, is more special to me now than ever was before, because of the first train I've built.
Yeah.
And it always will be.
Have you seen that picture of the Duchess that went over to America?
Yeah, that's what my ball represents when it was in America, because it has the bell and the light.
Yeah, it's got them fitted, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But it looks tiny next to your American locos. And it's quite a big train for us.
Yeah, it's based on a Gordon frame that we would get in America. I think I heard that they're gonna send them to the country that you live in. At least
really?
That's what I heard. Yeah, I think.
Excellent. Right. Well, it was really nice to meet you. Good to talk to you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. Right. And so somehow we've got to sign off.
Yeah. Sure thing.
By email. Yeah. Thanks. See ya.
See ya.
Cheers.